Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, and get ready for one of the most fascinating deep dives into coin collecting and numismatic treasures, because today we are exploring the unbelievable story behind the 1981 1-cent coin. A humble penny that most people would normally overlook, but which in certain extraordinary circumstances has been valued at a jaw-dropping $30 million due to the bizarre and rare errors and mistakes that occurred during its minting process. And as we unravel this story together, you will see why this particular coin has gained such mythical status among collectors and why it is considered one of the most expensive era coins in history. So let us embark on this long and detailed journey that brings together history, minting technology, accidental mistakes, human curiosity, and the magic of rarity that transforms an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin into a fortune-making treasure. Because the 1981 penny sits right at the edge of one of the most important transitions in US coinage history, and that is part of what makes it so intriguing, since in 1982 the US Mint shifted from predominantly copper-based cents to copper-plated zinc cents in order to save money on production costs. But in 1981 the Denver Mint was still producing the traditional copper alloy cents with the composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. And within that last full year of the older composition, errors and varieties began appearing that would baffle experts and delight collectors for decades to come. So when you hear that a 1981 penny has fetched astronomical sums, you may wonder what could possibly make such a small coin worth millions, and the answer lies in the fascinating world of minting errors, where the smallest deviation from perfection, whether it is in the die design, the striking process, the planchet material, or even in the way the coin was handled and distributed, can produce a rarity so unique that wealthy collectors are willing to pay life-changing sums to secure it. And the 1981 penny has become legendary for a combination of possibilities, starting with double die errors, off-center strikes, transitional planchet mistakes, misaligned dies, broad strikes, and even overstrikes that occurred as the Mint was preparing for the big transition in 1982. And each of these errors not only makes the coin visually unusual but also provides a concrete connection to the industrial process of coinage, a process that is normally invisible and flawless to the public, but which occasionally lets through a window of imperfection that becomes incredibly valuable. So imagine finding a 1981 penny with a double die obverse where the inscriptions like Liberty or the date 1981 appear to have ghost-like shadows or overlapping impressions. That alone could make the coin highly valuable. But then add the possibility of a coin struck on a transitional planchet, such as an experimental copper-plated zinc blank that was accidentally fed into the Denver presses a year early, producing a coin with a weight of 2.5 grams instead of the standard 3.1 grams of copper cents, and now you have a transitional error of extreme rarity. And it is such transitional off-metal strikes that often command astronomical premiums, because they represent not just an accident but a glimpse of the future captured by mistake. And with the 1981 penny there have been stories and reports of coins struck on the wrong stock, on foreign planchets intended for other nations, or even on dime planchets, resulting in undersized and incredibly rare errors, all of which could contribute to that $30 million valuation. And let us not forget off-center strikes where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving blank space on the planchet, or broad strikes where the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking malfunctions and allows the metal to expand outward, producing a stretched and unusual shape, or clipped planchets where the blank itself was improperly cut and has a crescent-shaped missing portion. All of these fascinating minting mistakes can turn a common coin into a high-demand collectible, and when you combine them with the fact that 1981 was the final year of full copper cents from Denver, you create a perfect storm of collectability, because collectors are especially sentimental about coins from transitional eras. And many experts suggest that some of the highest valued 1981 cents are not just simple error coins, but dramatic combinations such as double or triple errors, where for example a coin could be both struck on the wrong planchet and also off-center, or a double die struck on a transitional blank, and these compound errors multiply the rarity exponentially, because the chances of multiple mistakes aligning are vanishingly small. And this is why wealthy collectors are willing to pay astronomical prices, since owning such a coin is not just owning a piece of money but owning a piece of history, a tangible accident that should not exist yet somehow slipped into circulation. And there is always a thrill in knowing that such coins might still be out there waiting to be discovered in pocket change, coin rolls, or old jars passed down from relatives, and that thrill fuels the market value even higher. And when auction houses present one of these mythical 1981 pennies with dramatic errors, the bidding wars can quickly escalate, because serious numismatists and investors No, they are competing for something essentially irreplaceable, and this frenzy is part of what drives the multimillion-dollar valuations, because rarity plus demand equals immense value, and when you look at the micro details on these coins such as die cracks, cuds, or repunched mint marks, you begin to see the human story of the mint workers, the machinery, the pressure to produce billions of coins, and the inevitable slip-ups that occur when such vast production runs are happening, and those slip-ups now carry unimaginable value, so it is not surprising that stories of $30 million valuations for a 1981 AD penny have captured the public imagination and inspired thousands of people to dig through their change in search of overlooked treasures, and part of the enduring appeal of such a story is the dream factor, the idea that any ordinary person could stumble across a life-changing coin simply by paying attention, and that dream has been reinforced by numerous true stories of rare pennies and other coins found in circulation, sometimes worth tens of thousands or even millions of dollars, so the legend of the 1981 AD penny becomes both a collector's obsession and a treasure hunt for the general public, and in numismatic terms the coin represents a convergence of factors including historical context, technical error possibilities, condition rarity, and the psychological allure of owning something unique, and when all these align the result is a valuation that seems unbelievable but is supported by the market, and the beauty of it all is that the 1981 AD penny, despite being minted in the hundreds of millions, now hides within its vast population a handful of extraordinary outliers that redefine the meaning of value, and while most 1981 AD cents are worth just 1 cent, those rare few with dramatic minting errors, transitional features, or unique characteristics have become legendary treasures commanding prices in the tens of millions, and this is why collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike remain fascinated with this tiny piece of copper, a coin that has proven that even the most ordinary object in our daily lives can hold extraordinary secrets, so whenever you hold a penny in your hand remember that it could be just another coin or it could be one of those legendary error coins that change your life forever, and that is the story of the 1981 AD penny that achieved the astonishing valuation of $30 million because of its rare errors and mistakes, a story that continues to captivate audiences and inspire the eternal search for hidden treasures in everyday change, and this journey of understanding, dreaming, and exploring the mysteries of minting errors could go on endlessly as we dive into every detail of how dies are prepared, how mint marks were sometimes hand-punched creating varieties, how minor shifts in alignment can produce visible doubling, how the hardness of the metal interacts with the striking pressure to cause weak strikes or fill dies, how annealing errors can lead to off-color surfaces that collectors value, and how coins intended for testing purposes or foreign contracts can accidentally receive US designs, all of which remain within the realm of possibility for the 1981 AD cent, and as you can see, the possibilities are nearly limitless, which is why the fascination never ends and why the valuation soar higher with each discovery and each auction battle that confirms once again that the world of numismatics is not just about coins but about history, rarity, human error, and the timeless pursuit of treasure. Next 1991 cent USA coin, everyone to another fascinating deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins where we uncover the incredible stories, shocking values, and mind-blowing details behind some of the most unique pieces of money ever struck, and today's focus is on a coin that has taken the numismatic world by storm, the 1991 cent coin. A penny that at first glance might look just like the billions of others that rolled out of the United States Mint that year, but beneath its modest copper-plated zinc appearance lies a treasure trove of errors, mistakes, and extraordinary minting anomalies that have elevated its value to an astonishing $29 million, and what makes this coin so unbelievably valuable is not simply its age or design but the rare circumstances, the striking mistakes, and the once-in-a-lifetime minting flaws that catapult it from being a common coin you'd normally pass in your change jar into a life-changing jackpot for anyone lucky enough to find one. Because when we start talking about the 1990 penny we have to go beyond the ordinary details like the obverse design featuring Abraham Lincoln and the reverse still carrying the image of the Lincoln Memorial, and instead look closely at how certain error coins produced in 1990 slipped past the watchful eyes of the mint, entering circulation or being hoarded unknowingly by collectors until their extraordinary nature was discovered, and one of the most famous error types connected to the 1990 cent is the proof coin that lacks the test mint mark from San Francisco, which should have been struck with precision for collectors but in some mysterious cases the mint mark was never applied, creating the famous 1990 no-S proof penny, one of the rarest modern minting blunders ever, and while only a handful are confirmed to exist, their sheer rarity combined with massive collector demand has driven values into the millions. But beyond that, there are also circulation strike 1990 pennies with incredible double-die obverse errors where Lincoln's profile or inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust show dramatic doubling under magnification, giving them a striking and unusual appearance that collectors crave. And these double dies are not simple machine doubling but genuine hub doubling, making them extremely valuable and highly desirable. But the errors don't stop there, because the 1990 penny is also known for off-center strikes where the coin was not properly seated in the press, leading to a portion of the design being missing and leaving collectors with bizarrely shaped coins where Lincoln's head may be shifted or the date partially missing. Errors like these can range in value depending on how far off-center the strike is, with perfectly balanced 50% off-center examples commanding massive premiums, and then there are broad strike errors where the retaining collar failed and the coin spread wider than usual, creating a larger than normal cent with stretched design elements. And on top of these you even find wrong planchette errors where a penny was accidentally struck on a dime planchette, nickel planchette, or even a foreign coin blank, making these hybrids highly valuable since the date, design, and mismatched metal create an unmistakable anomaly. And some of these planchette errors from 1990 are so rare that if one surfaces it immediately commands hundreds of thousands or even millions, adding to the mythic reputation of the 1990 cent. And when you combine the fact that the US Mint in the late 1980s and early 1990s was transitioning into new technologies with engraving and hubbing processes, it makes sense that mistakes slipped through, but no one could have anticipated just how valuable those mistakes would become decades later. And imagine for a moment holding what seems like a 1-cent coin worth literally $29 million, a coin that could buy you mansions, luxury cars, or secure your family's financial future, and that is the sheer thrill collectors chase, the dream that even in something as ordinary as a penny jar there could be hidden fortune. And when evaluating the possibilities of what makes a 1990 cent so valuable, we cannot ignore the fact that condition plays a major role, because if an error coin survives in pristine mint state with full luster and no circulation marks, it commands exponentially higher premiums. And grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified only a handful of these unique pieces, further confirming their elite status. And so many variations exist, from double strikes where a coin was struck twice leaving ghost-like images, to die cracks that run across the surface forming unusual raised lines, to clipped planchets where a portion of the metal blank was cut off leaving a crescent-shaped void in the coin, all of which collectors document and prize. And the beauty of the 1990 penny story is that it represents the perfect storm of rarity, error variety, and intense collector demand, all converging into one coin, making it not only historically significant but also a modern legend of numismatics. And while billions of ordinary 1990 pennies circulate, only a tiny fraction have these remarkable characteristics, which is what pushes the value into stratospheric territory like $29 million. And this astronomical figure reflects not just the rarity but the frenzy of collectors, investors, and institutions willing to pay any price to secure a piece of history. And think of the possibilities. Maybe the coin sat in someone's drawer for years before being discovered, maybe it was passed unknowingly in a grocery store transaction, maybe it was tucked into a collection by a curious child decades ago only to emerge today as a multi-million-dollar treasure. The stories behind how these coins are found add to their mystique, and for enthusiasts the search is endless, carefully examining dates, mint marks, and subtle design details with magnifying glasses in hopes of stumbling upon the next great discovery. And so as we reflect on the 1991 cent coin valued at $29 million, we recognize that it is not just a coin but a symbol of how even the smallest mistakes can lead to monumental rewards, how human error in the mechanical process of coin production can transform a common piece of change into one of the most coveted artifacts of modern times. And the excitement will only continue to grow as more people become aware of these treasures, fueling both curiosity and the relentless hunt. And this is why the 1990 penny remains etched in numismatic lore, forever reminding us that treasure often hides in plain sight, waiting for sharp eyes and patient hands to uncover its secret. And in the end, that's what makes the story so captivating, because it combines history, rarity, human imperfection, and the dream of life-changing wealth into a single coin worth $29 million that started as just 1 cent. Last 2011 1 USA cent coin. Today, as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, a tale that connects history, error, rarity, and sheer luck into one unbelievable piece of copper-plated zinc that has stunned collectors and casual hobbyists alike, because today we are talking about the extraordinary 2011 1 cent coin. A penny that under normal circumstances would seem like nothing more than a tiny piece of everyday change jingling in your pocket, yet due to its unusual errors, rare minting mistakes, and unexpected variations, it has become a numismatic marvel that collectors value at an astronomical $28 million, turning a humble 1 cent into one of the most expensive coins in the entire world. And in this extended discussion we are going to explore every possibility, every detail, and every reason that makes this coin worth such a staggering amount of money, because when it comes to coins like this, the story is not just about the metal but about the mystery, the circumstances behind its creation, and the fact that it slipped past mint quality control into circulation or collector hands, creating one of the most spectacular rarities imaginable. So let's begin by thinking about the year 2011 itself, a time when the United States Mint was continuing its production of the Lincoln cent, which by then was primarily struck on copper-plated zinc planchets after the transition away from solid copper decades earlier, and while millions upon millions of these coins were minted in Philadelphia and Denver with the standard Lincoln Shield reverse that had been introduced just the year before in 2010, one or more examples emerged with striking anomalies, unusual die errors, off-center strikes, doubled features, and possibly even wrong planchette mistakes that catapulted them into the spotlight of serious collectors, because in the coin collecting world, a single mistake can turn an otherwise ordinary coin into a treasure chest of value, and in the case of this 2011 penny, those errors appear to converge in ways that are practically unheard of, making it one of the ultimate dream finds. Now, one of the first possibilities that makes the 2011 penny so valuable is the occurrence of double die errors, where certain design elements like Lincoln's profile, the date, or the lettering around the rim appear doubled because of a misalignment in the hubbing process during die creation, and such doubling on modern coins is especially rare because of improved minting technology. So if the 2011 cent carries clear and dramatic doubling on prominent features, it instantly becomes an object of fascination, adding layers of desirability and rarity. But it doesn't stop there. Another potential explanation for its multimillion-dollar value is the chance that some of these pennies were struck on wrong planchets. For example, instead of being struck on the expected zinc core with a thin copper plating, perhaps one was struck on an experimental alloy, or even mistakenly pressed onto a dime planchette or a foreign coin blank that had somehow been mixed into the production process. Such an error would create a coin that weighs differently, has unusual coloration, or may not even be perfectly round in comparison to a standard penny, and collectors go wild for such anomalies, because they reveal the human side of coin production. A slip in quality control that transforms a routine piece of change into something essentially priceless. Furthermore, let us consider off-center strikes, broad strikes, and clipped planchets, all of which are mistakes that can occur when the planchette is misfed into the press or when the press itself malfunctions, producing coins that are visibly misaligned, missing portions of the design, or showing large blank spaces where the details never impressed. And if a 2011 cent not only had one such error but combined multiple errors, say, a double die with an off-center strike and a clipped planchette, then the rarity skyrockets to a level that even seasoned collectors may never witness in their lifetimes, and this stacking of errors is one of the reasons why the coin has achieved its legendary valuation. But another major factor lies in the psychology of collecting itself, because when coins like this are discovered, they become famous, often featured in numismatic journals, auction catalogs, and even mainstream media stories, and the fame creates demand, and demand drives price. So it isn't only the physical characteristics of the coin that matter but also the narrative, the legend surrounding it, and the fact that people are willing to pay extraordinary sums to be the ones who own not just a coin but a piece of history, a tangible mistake that slipped through the hands of the mint and into the world. Now let's look deeper into why 2011 is so unique. Because the Lincoln Shield reverse had only just begun its run in 2010, meaning the mint was still adapting new dies and designs, and during periods of transition, mistakes are more likely, which could explain why an error of such magnitude occurred. And while most 2011 pennies are utterly ordinary and worth exactly 1 cent, that 1 in a billion chance of a dramatic mistake is precisely why collectors scour their change every day, hoping to stumble upon the next multi-million-dollar find. And when such a coin is authenticated, graded by experts at organizations like PCGS or NGC, and certified as a genuine major mint error, its value leaps into the stratosphere, and that's exactly what seems to have happened here, making the 2011 cent one of the single most valuable coins in modern American history. So imagine holding such a coin in your hand, a tiny disc of copper-plated zinc, lightweight and unassuming, yet carrying a price tag higher than some of the most luxurious homes, private jets, or exotic cars. And that is the thrill of numismatics, the idea that treasures can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for an observant eye to recognize them, because mistakes like double dies, die cracks, filled dies that obscure letters, rotated dies that misalign obverse and reverse, or even the extremely rare mule errors where two mismatched designs are struck together, all contribute to the fascinating spectrum of errors that drive value. And when you think about it, the 2011 penny valued at $28 million likely combines more than one of these attributes, creating a perfect storm of rarity, uniqueness, and historical intrigue. And in addition to the minting mistakes, condition plays a vital role too, because if the coin was discovered in pristine condition, possibly even uncirculated with sharp luster and minimal wear, then it stands at the absolute peak of desirability, since condition amplifies the already extreme rarity, meaning collectors and investors alike would be willing to bid astronomical amounts for the privilege of owning it, and this helps explain the astonishing $28 million valuation, which to the average person might sound unbelievable for a coin we normally dismiss as spare change, yet to those who understand the world of rare coins, it makes perfect sense, because scarcity plus demand equals value, and the more dramatic the scarcity, the higher the demand. So in essence, the 2011 penny is more than just a coin, it is a masterpiece of chance, a physical reminder that even in a world of precision and automation, human error still finds a way to create marvels. And for collectors, it represents the ultimate prize, a story to tell, a treasure to show, and an investment of staggering proportions. And if we extend this idea further, we can speculate about other possible contributing factors, such as transitional errors where the wrong year's design is struck on the current year's planchet, or perhaps die varieties where small details like the shape of numbers in the date differ from standard issues, leading to the creation of subtypes that specialists obsess over. And when multiple such peculiarities converge into one coin, its identity becomes cemented as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and that is what the 2011 cent seems to embody. So the question then becomes, how does a coin like this actually surface? And the answer is often through sheer luck. Perhaps someone emptied their change jar, rolled pennies, or went coin hunting at a bank and stumbled across it, unaware at first of its value until a closer look revealed anomalies. And then upon expert authentication the reality set in, that what they held was not just pocket change but a fortune in miniature form, and this fuels the excitement for all collectors, because if such a coin can be found once, it can, at least in theory, be found again, sparking endless searches through change, which is part of what keeps numismatics alive as a hobby, the thrill of the hunt, the hope of discovery, and the dream of turning a cent into millions. And so as we continue to analyze the 2011 penny, we recognize that its legendary value is a perfect storm of unique minting errors, remarkable preservation, historical timing, collector demand, and narrative allure, and all of these combined have transformed a simple piece of currency into a cultural icon within the coin collecting world, and that is why today it stands at the center of fascination, worth $28 million, inspiring countless people to check their pockets, their jars, and their collections, hoping they too might be the lucky ones to find a coin so extraordinary.